The fragrance of nostalgia hung in the air, stirred and thickened by the ghosts of camaraderie and the unbroken rhythm of everyday life. Inside the center of this spectral symphony existed a seemingly trivial object, a simple piece of paper, recognized by the designation of SCP-7438. This ordinary object was securely contained within a place that teetered on the edge of understanding, a place where the ordinary brushed shoulders with the extraordinary. SCP-7438 was more than what it appeared to be on the surface. In the hands of the untrained, it was a recipe, nothing more. Cooked chicken, sliced potatoes fashioned into the universally recognized form of fries. The ingredients were mundane, but the personnel at the facility knew better. They understood the potential contained within SCP-7438's brittle parchment, the power it held to shift perceptions and stir memories from the deepest corners of their minds. Each person held a unique version of SCP-7438 in their minds, the recipes subtly morphing and altering with each interaction. It was as if the recipe danced on the thin line between reality and illusion, the words twisting and twirling to the rhythm of each individual's memory and perception. To some, SCP-7438 was a recipe of comfort, a hearty stew simmering on a cold winter's night. To others, a classic family secret passed down through generations. There were known to be at least 9 distinct perceptions, each different, each special in its own way. The malleability of SCP-7438 was fascinating, and the personnel were encouraged to use it for their culinary endeavors, a dash of serendipity to break the monotony of their daily routine. A fresh experience every time, like a theater of flavors unveiling a different play to each viewer. As customary, they'd record their shifting perceptions of the recipe, penning down the multitude of versions, each as unique as the color spectrum refracted through a prism. With each encounter, they'd find themselves unraveling a new layer of SCP-7438's enigma, as the parchment spun a different narrative for each member. Perhaps it was an echo of their hidden desires, a longing for a home-cooked meal, a manifestation of a cherished memory, or merely a craving inspired by their taste buds. The recipe was like a canvas where the recipes were paints, varying in hues and shades, forming a picture unique to each pair of eyes. Unanswered questions swirled around SCP-7438 like a protective aura. Was there, indeed, a definitive recipe that the parchment hid, a truth waiting to be discovered? Could the key to this puzzle be buried within the variations, a common thread that subtly united them all? No one knew, but the intrigue of SCP-7438 was as intoxicating as the aroma of a simmering dish, drawing them in, stirring their curiosity, inviting them to taste and savor the mystery that lay within. But one rule prevailed over all others, a code etched in the sanctum of the facility. Every perception of SCP-7438 was to be respected and recorded, no matter how bizarre or absurd. The anomalies of the recipe, the incongruities in the format, the occasional misspellings, everything was dutifully noted, and each new perception was numbered for clarity, a methodical approach in the labyrinth of subjectivity. SCP-7438 was not just a shifting recipe. It was a testament to the power of perception, a constant reminder of the fluidity of reality, an ageless narrative that unfolded with every interaction, a story that never ended. The aroma of chicken sizzling in olive oil wafted through the kitchen, gathering intensity as the recipe progressed. A recipe, seemingly ordinary, yet tinged with an undertone of the extraordinary, bearing the code SCP-7438. The cook had started with a simple list: 2 skinned and boneless chicken breasts, 3 russet potatoes, salt and pepper in exact quantities, olive oil, and a staggering 8 cups of peanut oil. He moved deftly, hands a blur as he peeled the potatoes. The peels dropped away, leaving the clean, raw vegetables ready to be transformed. He sliced them into slender fry shapes, then let them soak in a bowl filled with clear water, their starchy essence bleeding out into the liquid. His attention shifted to the chicken. He diligently seasoned the breasts with measured quantities of salt and pepper, then mixed them until they were fully coated. They were then transferred to a pan, the olive oil glistening as it awaited its duty. One by one, he laid the chicken breast down, the sound of the sizzle filling the room, echoing his anticipation. The chicken, now fully immersed in the olive oil, began to transform, its surface gradually turning golden, the scent of searing meat filling the air. 6 minutes later, he flipped each breast, the underside now a tantalizing, charred golden brown. Within another 4 minutes, the chicken was done, cooked to perfection. Simultaneously, the peanut oil had been heating in a large pot, its lustrous surface shimmering under the influence of the intense heat. The submerged fries emerged from their watery bath, dried gently with a paper towel before they were plunged into the boiling oil. In the hot peanut oil, the fries began their transformation. They sizzled and spat, their surface gradually turning a warm golden brown. Within minutes, they were done, their transformation complete, from raw, uninteresting potatoes to the world's most beloved side dish. He let the chicken and fries cool before their presentation, the delicious aroma lingering in the air, a preview of the feast to come. Despite the tantalizing setup, his focus was not the flavor, but the potential outcome. For this was not a recipe with mere gastronomic implications, but one that bore the puzzling secret of SCP-7438. Yet, despite the mystery shrouding the recipe, the result this time was disappointingly ordinary. No anomalous effects, no hidden surprises. The finished product of SCP-7438 was just what it seemed, a simple, homely dish of chicken and fries. Undeterred, the cook continued to the next recipe, a tantalizing concoction of buttermilk and pickle juice, chicken breasts, potatoes, flour, spices, and vegetable oil. His curiosity piqued. He pondered on the potential outcomes as he prepped for the next day, his mind awash with thrilling possibilities, his heart beating in sync with the tantalizing secret that lay within SCP-7438. As he mixed buttermilk and pickle juice, he couldn't help but wonder, would this be the recipe to unlock the hidden potential of SCP-7438? In the dim light of the morning, the scent of spices and oil mingles with the faint, sour tang of pickles. It's a medley of smells that's become all too familiar over time. The chicken marinates in a concoction that has been left to stew for the past day. The once pinkish hue has turned into a pale, almost ghostly color, the pickle brine seeping every crevice, every fiber, tenderizing the meat into an extraordinary delicacy. The time draws nearer. Each second ticks away the patience, the anticipation looming larger with the passing moments. The ritual begins. The potatoes are retrieved, their earthy aroma rising from the wooden chopping board. Their crisp, golden skins are hastily transformed into the familiar shape of fries, each slice echoing through the silence of the kitchen. Once their transformation is complete, they are left to rest in a pool of water, a baptism of sorts before their eventual destiny. The flour and seasonings are combined diligently, a mixture of textures and smells. The sharp scent of onion powder collides with the smoky tang of paprika, the spice of cayenne barely whispering through it all. The salt is left untouched. The brine has already done its work, lending an intense, mouth-watering savoriness to the chicken. In the kitchen's heart, the oil begins to simmer, a slow anticipation of heat and sizzle. It's a delicate dance of temperature, one that must be adhered to meticulously. The chicken is thoroughly drenched in the seasoned flour, each piece held suspended for a moment before it's lowered gently into the bubbling oil, a ballet of hisses and pops emanating from the pot. The duration is crucial. The chicken is left to cook, allowed 8 to 12 minutes of solitary transformation. The result is a glorious golden brown, a testament to patience and discipline. Once done, the chicken is removed, set aside to cool. In its wake, the fries find their fate, meeting the searing heat of oil. They sizzle, they crackle, they dance, turning from pale to golden brown, the transformation as fascinating as it is mouth-watering. The fries, now golden bright, are removed, a sprinkle of salt added while they're still scorching. The result? Pure joy, a work of culinary art, a testament to time and patience, a symphony of flavors. Mada. Recipe 3. Ingredients are gathered, the list running long but familiar. Milk, chicken breasts, potatoes, all-purpose flour, a half jar of pickle juice, a dash of cayenne, a larger dollop of paprika, a lavish shake of garlic powder, onion powder, a pinch of cinnamon, vegetable oil, and salt. The assembly is quite the sight, each ingredient promising a medley of flavors. The instructions are simple, yet their execution requires finesse. The pickle juice and milk are combined, a substitute for the absent buttermilk. The chicken is submerged in the tangy blend and left to marinate for an extended period, 48 hours to be precise. Meanwhile, the potatoes are transformed into fries once more, a mix of sizes for variety's sake. A mistake is realized, the seasoning forgotten. It's a mad scramble to amend the error, the spices added with haste into the chicken and marinade. The mixture turns gloopy, a mess of thick liquid and tender chicken. The seasoned flour envelops the chicken pieces as they bathe in the marinade, each piece carefully coated. In the end, it's a culinary masterpiece, a confluence of flavors and techniques worth every moment of the painstaking preparation. And the result? A dish that not only satisfies hunger, but soothes the soul. The slight chill of the kitchen was a stark contrast to the blazing heat of the oil that simmered in an iron-cast pot. Terry's hands, steady and knowing, were slicked with sweat as he navigated the delicate dance of preparing a meal. The recipe in his mind was a simple one: chicken and fries, a classic comfort food. This was a meal he had made 1,000 times before, yet there was a nagging sense of unease that lurked in the back of his mind, twisting his gut with a sense of imminent disaster. He cranked the knob of the stove, watching as the temperature gauge began to rise towards 400 degrees. A bead of perspiration trickled down the nape of his neck, and he reached for the chicken that lay waiting on a wooden cutting board. His mind, clouded with thoughts of the recipe, the steps involved, forgot to lower the temperature. The oil in the pot hissed and crackled, its temperature soaring to a dangerous 500 degrees. With a flick of his hand, he dropped the chicken into the pot from a height of 3 inches, a splash of hot oil lashing out and striking the skin of his hand. He hissed in pain, rushing over to the sink to wash away the searing oil. The taste of adrenaline lingered on his tongue, a sharp, stinging reminder of the unpredictable nature of cooking. The chicken sizzled in the oil, its exterior gradually transforming from a pale, raw state to a deep brown, tinged with shades of black. The scorching oil wreaked havoc on the slurry, leaving an acrid smell that hung heavy in the air. The timer beeped, signaling that 6 minutes had passed. Terry, his heart pounding in his chest, carefully removed the chicken from the oil. Next, he added the fries into the still scorching oil, falsely believing that the residual heat would suffice in cooking them to completion. He cut off the heat, stirring the fries halfway through to ensure an even distribution of the burnt remnants that clung to the bottom of the pot. After 5 excruciating minutes, he removed the fries, the pitiful sight of their undercooked bodies a disheartening sight. He drowned the fries in a sea of ketchup, a desperate attempt to mask their rawness, scraping off the burnt breading from the chicken before taking a bite. The meal was best eaten devoid of any beverages, the salty sting of the fries and the smoky flavor of the chicken standing on its own. After this episode came an uncanny moment of transition. A person would typically perceive a different recipe 4 days later, a peculiar cycle that repeated every 8 days. The next recipe, a concoction of potatoes, salt, and olive oil, Terry would learn from a YouTube video before bed. The process was an odd one, but it was a routine he was accustomed to, a peculiar rhythm that had seamlessly woven itself into the fabric of his life. His world, dictated by these ever-changing recipes, was an unpredictable kaleidoscope of flavors and experiences. The meals, though imperfect, were tethered to something deeper: memories, emotions, moments of triumph and defeat, a testament to the beautiful chaos of life itself. The pallid spuds sat on the wooden chopping board, their earthy scent wafting through the air. Each potato was peeled meticulously, revealing the pearly white flesh beneath their rough exterior. Thick, solid cuts transformed them into the beginnings of raw fries. Their potential was hidden beneath their cold, hard exterior, their purpose yet to be fulfilled. A pot of water began its dance on the stove, bubbles swirling in a heated frenzy. The water, once calm, was now a turbulent, boiling sea. The naked potatoes were carefully lowered in with the assistance of a spoon. Their descent was cautious, as if a single misstep could scald the skin and ravage the flesh. They cooked until their bodies were tender, succumbing to the merest prod of a fork. Drained of their heated bath, they were arrayed onto a baking sheet. A golden shower of olive oil cascaded over them, dressing them in a tempting sheen. Stirred into the hot mess, steam hissed and popped, creating a tempest of heat and moisture within the kitchen. Next, they were subjected to the fiery embrace of the oven, left to bake for 40 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Stirred once midway through their transformation, they emerged as golden brown torchbearers of flavor. Transferred to a bowl lined with a paper towel, the excess oil was greedily soaked up. The paper towel, discarded prematurely, left them bare once more. A generous sprinkle of salt followed, bathing them in a crystalline hailstorm. They were shaken vigorously, their dance a desperate plea to evenly distribute the seasoning. There was an art, a quiet dignity to be found in preparing the side dish. Terry Mata knew this secret. Recipe 5 was a time-tested symphony of flavors, centered around chicken thighs. A veritable medley of ingredients lay sprawled across Terry's countertops: salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne powder, cinnamon, and olive oil. Terry began his culinary journey by watching a YouTube video. The YouTuber was notorious for excessive wastage, their cooking techniques a mockery of good food. However, they offered insight into the seasonings that would elevate the humble chicken thigh to a gastronomic delight. Another video, another YouTuber. This time, a more conscientious soul who respected the art of cooking. He claimed chicken thighs were superior to breasts. Terry paused to consider this revelation, weighing it against his own preferences and experiences. With newfound knowledge, Terry began the seasoning process. An hour before cooking, the chicken was given a generous dusting of salt. Only salt. It was a simple, singular flavor that would permeate the meat, infusing it with a savory depth. A flurry of seasoning later, the chicken thighs lay basking beneath a blanket of spice. The usual suspects of garlic and onion powder were accompanied by a daring pinch of cinnamon. It was an unconventional choice, born of a whimsical impulse. The stage was set. The chicken waited, its potential yet to be unveiled. Emerald Page watched as the silken olive oil cascaded into the pan, shimmering under the overhead lights. The stove's flame flickered beneath the skillet, igniting an almost hypnotic dance between shadow and light that seemed to beckon and demand her rapt attention. Every 2 minutes, like clockwork, she turned the contents of the pan, the searing sound deepening in her ears, while the aroma enveloped her in a cocoon of culinary nostalgia. She was preparing a chicken dish that had been unexpectedly imprinted onto SCP-7438, and the act was a paradox of the ordinary and the uncanny. The chicken, seasoned generously with cinnamon, was now seared to a perfect golden brown, the unexpected kick of the spice merging perfectly with the tender, juicy meat. A wicked smirk tugged at her lips as she savored the fleeting memory of her childhood. Secretive, mischievous culinary endeavors carried out under the cloak of night, unbeknownst to her parents. The sweet thrill of it rushed back to her as she stood in the sterile, cold research facility, so far removed from those warm, innocent days. The preceding fortnight had seen 5 separate perceptions transcribed from the SCP. But then the object fell silent, as though gathering its thoughts, or perhaps reeling from the extensive probing. For 5 long, quiet months, there were no new recipe perceptions to transcribe. Then Emerald had noticed it, the quiet hum of the SCP, a subtle shift in its latent energy, indicating a fresh revelation awaiting transcription. As she began to meticulously note down the 6th recipe, several other researchers reported similar experiences. An unexpected resurgence of insights gleaned from the inscrutable object. The recipe called for 5 chicken thighs, skin on, boned, and 4 potatoes. A medley of spices, salt, black pepper, garlic, and onion powder, a pinch of monosodium glutamate that sparked an internal debate about its health implications. There was cinnamon, its inclusion still a pleasant surprise, followed by cayenne and paprika powder. Olive oil would act as the facilitator of flavors, tying everything together. Emerald could already visualize the cookware she'd need: a pot, a pan, a baking tray, a cutting board for her careful knife work, a plastic bag for marination, paper towels for blotting, a humble fork for occasional pricks of testing. With practiced hands, she deboned the chicken thighs, setting the bones aside for what could be a soulful broth another time. She then cut the chicken into uneven portions, mindful of creating a uniform flatness that would ensure even cooking. With a flourish, she salted the pieces, tucked them into a plastic bag, and relegated them to the cool confines of the refrigerator. The recipe might suggest doing this a full day in advance, but there was something refreshingly rebellious about bending the rules. Next, chop the potatoes into thick, fry-like shapes. Peel them? The thought brought a smile to her face. No, not this time. The skin would add an earthy flavor, a rustic appeal. She stood back, her gaze flicking between the recipe and her prepared ingredients. The journey into this new culinary perception was just beginning, and Emerald felt a familiar thrill of anticipation stirring within her. Every new recipe was a puzzle to be solved, a layer to be unfurled, a story waiting to be told. In the waning hours of the day, under the dimming pallor of artificial light, an ordinary pursuit turned extraordinary. Shadows danced on the kitchen tiles, caressing the cold metal of utensils as the pot was placed on the stove, filled to the brim with water. The hiss of the flame, igniting with a sudden burst, a promise of transformation. The water, once still and placid, began to bubble with an intense fervor, the surface trembling with growing anticipation. Gently, cautiously, the raw, cold fries were slipped into the boiling turmoil. The sharp sizzle, the roiling bubble, the momentary silence. Each fry, a solitary entity, jostled and tossed in the aquatic inferno, carrying the weight of expectation until, with a sigh, they gave in. Soft enough to yield at the subtlest pressure of a fork, they were carefully strained, an act of finesse to prevent their fragile forms from disintegrating. A thick layer of paper towels was unfurled, each sheet fluffed and flattened, ready to cradle the softened potatoes. They lay there, cooling, the warmth gradually seeping away into the waiting paper, leaving them dry yet subtly transformed. When the moment was right, when the air held a certain crispness, a medley of seasonings was introduced. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, all dusted over the fries, followed by a generous drizzle of olive oil. Each golden strip was cloaked in the heady mixture, revealing a different side of their erstwhile bland selves. The oven, a gaping maw of heat and metal, was heated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. A veritable inferno, ready to forge the fries, to create crunch from softness, to intensify flavor from blandness. A ritualistic dance unfolded, a mix and stir every 15 minutes, each passing moment pushing the fries closer to the perfect crunch, the perfect taste. Simultaneously, the chicken was tended to, pulled from its cool seclusion a quarter of an hour ahead of the fries' completion. It was seasoned generously: black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, a sprinkle of cayenne, a dusting of paprika, a pinch of MSG, and a dash of cinnamon. The pan was warmed. Olive oil spread thinly over the surface before the seasoned chicken was dropped in. Flip, sizzle, repeat. Every 2 minutes the chicken was flipped, the meat searing, the spices melding, flavors blooming in the heat. A thermometer lay forgotten. The chicken cooked not for a predetermined time but a feeling, an instinct that whispered when it was just right. Among this sultry dance of taste and texture lay the simple tools: a knife, a fork, a plate, and some paper napkins, gathering the intriguing aromas wafting through the room. These bits and pieces of regular life now bore witness to an intimate culinary ritual, a testament to taste and time. The dish was an experience best savored in exclusively maternal company, in the warmth of fond memories and shared laughter, the exchange of stories that added an extra dash of joy to each bite. A ritual of food, but also of connection, of coming together and sharing the most human of experiences, a meal. Yet sometimes the mundane could encroach upon the extraordinary. Recipe number 7, it fell short of the symphony of tastes and smells that the usual process offered. It was the simplest, but also the most elusive. Only 12 people had encountered it as of yet. It began with a journey to a local Kentucky fried chicken joint, a purchase of overpriced, unflavored chicken, and the worst fries of one's life. A reluctant compromise made out of mistrust for the dorm kitchen cookware. A stark contrast to the elaborate dance of taste and texture that usually unfolded, it was a reminder of the extraordinary in the most ordinary of tasks: cooking. In the midst of life's exploration, Mata always found solace in her culinary adventures. Culinary rituals for her were a dance of flavors, a symphony of ingredients, and an art mastered by the nuances of her palate. She often used to say, "A meal is best savored in solitude." One particular recipe was celebrated for its simplicity yet explosive flavor and depth, at least in Mata's eyes. Recipe number 8, as Mata quaintly put it. It starred 2 unassuming chicken thighs, a humble bag of frozen fries, basic seasonings like salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and cayenne. The secret ingredients? A splash of pickle juice and a luscious bath of buttermilk. Mata was meticulous in her preparations. The night before, she'd execute a fine ballet. An equal part of pickle juice would swirl in harmony with 3 times buttermilk. Over this tangy, creamy concoction, the chicken thighs would be placed to marinate, saturated with flavors that danced and melded together in the dark of the refrigerator. The following day, Mata continued her culinary dance. The frozen fries would be coaxed into the air fryer, starting their metamorphosis into golden, crispy perfection. Meanwhile, the chicken, having spent the night soaking in the marinade, would embark on its next stage of flavor transformation. Each piece, patted dry, would be seasoned with the listed spices, except for the salt. Mata would then summon the virgin olive oil into a heated pan, introducing the chicken thighs to their heated fate. She would keep a vigilant eye on the temperature, ensuring the chicken was released from its sizzling cage between 175 degrees and 185 degrees to preserve their tender juiciness. A paper plate would be the final stage for the culinary masterpiece. Despite its seemingly humble components, recipe number 8 was a testament to Mata's belief that simplicity, when treated with care and attention, could yield unforgettable treasures. In the bowels of the city, nestled within the labyrinth of Portland State University campus, was an apartment complex. For 2 years, a lone tenant had occupied one such apartment, a person whose identity remained as elusive as their culinary masterpiece. The apartment soon found a new occupant, a tenant who stumbled upon the enigmatic SCP-7438 tucked away in a cabinet. The newfound discovery sparked curiosity and intrigue, prompting the tenant to share the peculiar recipe with others. However, the recipe proved to be a conundrum, much like its creator. Each person perceived it differently, their individual interpretations of the recipe as diverse as their palates. As the recipe made its way online, it stirred a maelstrom of divergent perceptions. The enigma of recipe number 8 only deepened, its origin revealing no clues. Its creator, known only as Mata, was now a mystery wrapped in the guise of an innocuous recipe. The narrative of SCP-7438 was far from over, and the mystery of its creation only added to its intriguing allure. It did not take long for the agents of the secretive Foundation to catch wind of the internet posts that had triggered their alarms. Beneath the seemingly innocuous words, a hidden signature had been detected, akin to a digital fingerprint, a signature associated with a peculiar object, an entity, now categorized as SCP-7438. As subtle as the ripple of a leaf on an otherwise serene pond, it was enough to send them scrambling into action. The post was promptly taken down, replaced with a bland, commonplace message speaking of technical errors, and SCP-7438 was seized, locked away within the steel and concrete labyrinth of the Foundation's containment facilities. Yet, there was another cog in this intricate mechanism of the unknown that needed to be fitted into place. The user of the post was identified, codenamed Mata, and a quiet, relentless search began. 8 months of shadowy surveillance, of invisible threads being pulled within the expansive web of the Foundation's resources, all leading towards the resolution of this enigmatic riddle. When the Foundation's agents finally encountered Mata, they found themselves facing a 23-year-old individual named Terry Paris Mata, residing in Seattle, United States. The individual was engaged but remained ambiguous about their gender. Upon their introduction, they asked the agents to call them Tegan. Tegan was sat down for an interview, under the guise of an informal conversation. The agent first asked about their profession, and Tegan, with a smile that didn't reach their eyes, replied that they had studied marketing. Probing further, the agent asked about their favorite food. Tegan hesitated, as if the answer was lost somewhere in the depths of their mind, before finally settling on shakshuka, a dish swirling with flavor and warmth, rich with tomatoes, peppers, and eggs. Asked if they cooked shakshuka often, Tegan shook their head. Every month or so, every few months, they confessed. It's not something I make often. When asked about their usual culinary repertoire, they listed pasta, stir-fry, chicken, baked potatoes. But chicken and fries, now that's a throwback, Tegan added, their voice distant as if the mention pulled them back into memories tucked away. The agent, intrigued, asked if Tegan made chicken and fries often. They responded with a non-committal shrug. I wouldn't say often. It's certainly something I make, but not up there. It was, however, the first full thing I started cooking. At the agent's inquiry for more details, Tegan's gaze slipped away, a soft smile blooming on their lips. "Oh, probably since I was around 15. I tried to copy my dad's recipe, but I can't honestly say it ended up that well." An unexpected note of melancholy had crept into Tegan's voice with the mention of their father. Sensing a possible emotional leverage, the agent pushed further, asking about the man. "Frank?" Tegan replied, their voice dipping with a tone of loss. When asked about his whereabouts, Tegan offered a bleak smile. "Somewhere about 6 feet under." Through this conversation, the agent continued to weave a psychological tapestry of Tegan's life. The details revealed not only the cooking habits and family history of Mata, but also the depths of their character, their emotional resilience, and intricate nuances, shaping the foundation of the story around SCP-7438. Mata had always found solace in the rhythmic predictability of cooking. It was comforting, the way the clatter of a knife against a wooden board or the sizzle of meat in a hot pan could pull her back into herself, remind her of the tangible, the real. An antidote to the endless, maddening uncertainty that came with being in the Foundation's grasp. Yet, finding herself free of their ever-watchful gaze, the solitary act of preparing a meal took on a new, sacred significance. Strangely, she found herself drawn towards poultry, gravitating towards the humble chicken. Before the Foundation, her chicken dishes were a rare occurrence. Since her release, however, their frequency began increasing, every few weeks or months like clockwork. Drawing parallels between herself and the chicken may have been cliché, but they were impossible to ignore. A chicken was just a bird, a common fowl. But with time, patience, and the right ingredients, it could be transformed into a feast. Just as she had evolved during her time with the Foundation, so too had her method of preparing chicken. Mata remembered the cryptic piece of paper the Foundation had shown her during their last meeting. A blank sheet, filled with potential yet devoid of instructions. Much like her life now, free of the Foundation, yet without a clear path. Suddenly, her inner musings were interrupted by a peculiar sensation. A new perception, the ninth, of the elusive SCP-7438. A baffling anomaly that had sent her life spiraling into the surreal and had ultimately led to her entanglement with the Foundation. It was as if an unseen hand was guiding her, noting down the recipe that had become her solace. 3 succulent chicken thighs, a pair of robust potatoes, a smattering of pure salt, a sprinkle of heady black pepper, a dusting of aromatic garlic and onion powder, a dash of fiery cayenne and warm paprika, a pinch of sweet cinnamon, freshly minced garlic, fragrant rosemary, and earthy sage, a glug of olive oil, crisp onions, sweet carrots, crisp celery, a pat of butter and a spoonful of flour to bind it all together. The cookware chimed in, a chorus of usual suspects, a trusty pot and pan, a baking tray heated to just the right temperature, a sturdy cutting board, a glass container to store the marinating meat, paper towels standing by for any spills, a simple fork, a whisk, ready to blend and stir. Mata saw each step unfold before her, echoing her own journey. The chicken, once a whole creature, transformed under her careful knife, the bones plucked out, the meat sliced until each piece had achieved a harmonious uniformity. Covered with salt, it was left to marinate overnight. In a pot, the discarded bones began their transformation journey. Along with a medley of vegetables, half an onion, garlic, celery, and carrots, they simmered gently for several hours, infusing the water with their essence. The stock was strained, the solids discarded, and the remaining liquid was frozen for future use. The day of cooking dawned. The potatoes, scrubbed clean of earthy residue, were chopped into uniform shapes, boiled until they yielded to the pressure of a fork. As Mata cooked, The intertwined parallels between her evolving recipe and her own journey only deepened, hinting at a chapter yet unwritten. The tantalizing aroma of the food wafted through the air, filling the space with anticipation and bittersweet memories. The scent a reminder that even in her newfound freedom, the anomaly, and her connection to it, lingered. With every ingredient meticulously measured and each tool perfectly placed, the kitchen became a stage and the act of cooking, a performance. Anticipation bubbled forth as the labor of love began. Strained between his fingers, the raw, earthy texture of the potatoes was dried carefully with paper towels, their crisp starchiness promising delights to come. They were arranged on a baking tray, then kissed with olive oil, salt, and black pepper. A pinch of garlic powder, a sprinkle of onion powder, a dash of rosemary. Then the aromatic sweetness of diced onion mingled with the heady scent of garlic and the rich, smoky kiss of paprika. They were now ready to receive the warmth of the oven, set to a perfect 400 degrees Fahrenheit, a beacon of heat and comfort amidst the anticipation of the upcoming feast. Every 15 minutes, the oven's warm bosom would be disturbed, the fries stirred once, then again at the half-hour mark, mingling the flavors and providing a satisfying crunch to each perfectly browned piece. Meanwhile, the chicken lay waiting in its container, cool and patient. It was removed with loving care, patted dry with the same meticulous attention that was given to the potatoes, then graced with a fine dusting of black pepper, garlic, and onion powder. Sage, cayenne, paprika, and a hint of cinnamon were added next, their potent aromas blooming under the careful touch, the symphony of spices promising a melody on the tongue. With the pan already coated in olive oil and warmed to a welcoming heat, there was a pause. A second only, but in it a breath of anticipation, a small prayer offered to the gods of the kitchen. Each piece of chicken was tenderly anointed with olive oil, every crevice and fold evenly coated. The sizzling pan welcomed them, the noise of the hot oil singing their arrival. With practiced ease, the chicken was flipped every 2 minutes at a medium-high temperature, a vigilant eye kept on its transformation. When the time came, a cautious check was made, the temperature read, and the chicken deemed ready at a perfect 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Gently, the chicken was freed from the pan, set aside to rest and let its juices recirculate. The heat was turned to medium, then a small amount of chicken stock was poured into the pan, scraping up the flavor-laden fond. Butter was added next, melting in a decadent pool before flour was carefully incorporated to make a roux. A whisk quickly turned the mixture into a velvety gravy, a silent promise of comforting warmth ready to coat the meal in its embrace. Plates, forks, knives, and cloth napkins were set out in threes, their positions arranged with the same care as the cooking. A gravy boat was filled, warm and inviting, its contents ready to enhance the flavors of the lovingly prepared meal. And all the while, the thought of his mother and fiancée, their reactions to his culinary prowess, was a sweet undercurrent of excitement. Every stir, every turn, every dash and sprinkle was steeped in the hope that this first meal, prepared with love and care, would be a lasting memory for the three of them. The food was best eaten with the comfort of family, the love of a partner, and the warm familiarity of a home-cooked meal. It was an offering, a testament to the love he held for his soon-to-be wife and his mother. This was more than just a meal. It was a testament of dedication, a sign of bonds yet to be cemented. It was a heartfelt act of love, served on a plate. Beneath the unfathomable depths of reality, hiding from the eyes of the mundane, existed a realm devoid of human comprehension, a realm that functioned by its own rules, far removed from the perceivable laws of nature. In this realm, there resided entities and phenomena that defied explanation and understanding, anomalies that were a subject of containment, scrutiny, and caution. They were cataloged by the cryptonym SCP by a clandestine foundation working in the shadows, dedicating its existence to protect the world from these unseen, unfathomable horrors. In the vast collection of these anomalies, SCP-7438 stood as a beacon of enigma. Its very existence was a testament to the impenetrable mysteries the Foundation dedicated itself to unravel. The person responsible for bringing this particular peculiarity to light was none other than Tegan Mata, a name whispered with respect and intrigue within the secretive walls of the Foundation. Mata's work, similar to a hauntingly beautiful poem, was deeply reflective of the dread and awe these anomalies inspired. Mata had found SCP-7438, not like one stumbles upon a treasure, but more akin to a chilling discovery in the darkest corners of existence. Their work was no less than an existential ballad, a dance along the precipice of sanity. Their words, etched into the archives of the Foundation, were a testament to the ceaseless battle against humanity's oblivion. However, the secrets of the Foundation were not laid bare for all to peruse. Such information resided within an isolated corner of the digital universe, known as the SCP Wiki. Here, Mata's discoveries, along with countless others, existed in a realm untouched by the passage of time. A realm where the eerie tales of SCP-7438 were naught but a click away for those with the clearance and the nerve to delve into such matters. The SCP Wiki, while a reservoir of the uncanny and bizarre, adhered to its own strict regulations. The content of this labyrinthine repository was bound by a licensing policy that ensured the sanctity and authenticity of the information and accounts contained within. This licensing guide served as a compass, guiding the curious through the intricate maze of nightmarish chronicles, providing a beacon in the swirling storm of the unexplainable. Every terrifying account, including that of SCP-7438, was wrapped within the protective confines of the CC-BY-SA license. The details of this license were embedded within the heart of the Wiki, shrouded in as much mystery and respect as the entries it safeguarded. Thus, the tales of SCP-7438, penned by the insightful Tegan Mata, continued to exist in this digital fortress. Mata's words resonated through the hallowed halls of the SCP Foundation, a haunting reminder of the horrors that lurked just beneath the veil of reality. Each citation, each reference, was a chilling warning, a foreboding prophecy of the unknown terrors yet to be discovered, and those that must forever remain contained. As the final chapter of this heart-stopping narrative closed, the shadowy intrigue of SCP-7438 refused to dissipate. The tale spun by Tegan Mata would endure, a chilling testament to the relentless pursuit of understanding in the face of the unfathomable. The SCP Foundation continued its ceaseless vigil, forever guarding the boundary between the known world and the chilling abyss of anomalies. And within the silence of this vigil hummed the haunting echo of SCP-7438, a terrifying embodiment of the unknown, a relentless enigma, eternally challenging the boundaries of human comprehension.